The Silent Guardian. The Zarki Grand Admiral's tendrils writhed in frustration as she studied the holographic display before her. Another fleet. Gone. Not defeated, not driven back. Simply gone. The most advanced stealth vessels in the known galaxy had vanished without a trace, joining countless others in the growing legend of Earth's orbit. Impossible, she whispered, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with anger. 5 ships. 5 of our most advanced vessels. The chamber of the Galactic Defense Council had never been so quiet. Representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations sat in stunned silence, their various anatomies rigid with tension. The holographic display showed Earth rotating serenely below, surrounded by what appeared to be nothing more than primitive satellites and debris. First Admiral Vector, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns of distress, finally broke the silence. That makes the 7th fleet we've lost attempting to establish observation posts around the human world. The hegemony's finest ships, the collective's stealth probes, even the consciousness's phase-shifted vessels, all vanished without a trace. The humans don't even know we exist, commented Science Director Tara, her compound eyes rapidly processing data streams. Their primitive detection systems show nothing unusual. Their communications channels are filled with debates about whether alien life exists at all. Yet their orbital space has become more lethal than any engineered defense system we've encountered in 10,000 years of space travel. The holographic display zoomed in on Earth's orbital space, showing the chaotic dance of satellites, spent rocket stages, and debris. To most species present, it looked impossibly primitive. Humans had yet to master basic planetary cleanup protocols that most civilizations implemented before achieving spaceflight. Look at this madness, the Grand Admiral continued, her tendrils now coiling tightly. No energy shields, no graviton arrays, no quantum disruption fields. Just garbage. Garbage moving at velocities that turn a paint chip into a projectile weapon. A small figure emerged from the shadows of the chamber. Professor Yelan, known across the galaxy for his controversial theories about emerging civilizations, approached the display. His spindly fingers traced patterns in the air as he studied the debris field. Perhaps, he began, his voice barely above a whisper, we're asking the wrong question. We keep asking how they're defeating us. The real question is, how are they surviving in there? The display focused on a human space station, making minute adjustments to avoid collision with a piece of debris. The movements were precise, elegant, a ballet of survival choreographed through nothing more than basic physics and human intuition. Their computational technology is primitive by our standards, Ilan continued, excitement creeping into his voice. They're not using quantum calculations or AI guidance. They're doing this with basic mathematics and human insight. They've evolved in this chaos. They don't just survive it. They thrive in it. The Grand Admiral's tendrils relaxed slightly as understanding began to dawn. You're suggesting that we can't penetrate their orbital space because we're too advanced. That our sophisticated navigation systems are actually a disadvantage. Precisely, Mylan replied. We've created ships that try to predict and counter every possible threat. But Earth's orbital space isn't a defense system. It's an ecosystem, one that operates on chaos theory and emergent behavior patterns that our logical systems can't process. The humans navigate it successfully because they don't try to control it. They adapt to it. First Admiral Vector's crystalline form darkened. Then how do we proceed? We cannot simply ignore an emerging civilization, especially one that has accidentally created an impenetrable planetary defense. Perhaps we don't proceed at all, Professor Wayland suggested. Nature has given humanity the perfect shield, one they don't even know exists. Maybe that's exactly why it works so well. You can't defeat an enemy that doesn't know it's fighting you, using weapons they don't know they have. As if to emphasize his point, the holographic display showed a new alert. A human communications satellite had just adjusted its orbit by 2 degrees to avoid a piece of debris. In doing so, it had unknowingly forced the cloaked alien probe to crash into a defunct weather satellite. Ground control logged it as another routine debris collision, and humanity continued its day, blissfully unaware of their perfect defense system in action. The Grand Admiral's tendrils finally relaxed completely as she made her decision. We will withdraw all observation attempts. Let the humans remain in their protective cocoon of chaos. Perhaps one day they will emerge on their own terms, having mastered something we never could: the art of thriving in disorder. The chamber lights dimmed as the representatives filed out, leaving the holographic Earth spinning silently in the darkness. Below, humanity continued its chaotic dance through space, their very disorder becoming their greatest strength. Meanwhile, in mission control centers across Earth, controllers continued tracking their satellites through the cosmic obstacle course, never realizing that their space junk problem had become the most effective planetary defense system in the known galaxy. Patterns in the void. Dr. Maya Patel stared at her monitor in the Orbital Debris Tracking Center, her forehead creased in concentration. Something wasn't adding up. The mathematical models she'd spent years perfecting were showing anomalies that defied explanation. "Hey, Maya. Still chasing ghosts?" Dr. James Chen leaned against her desk, offering a cup of coffee that smelled infinitely better than the break room's usual offerings. "Look at this, James." She pointed to a cluster of data points on her screen. "These debris patterns, they're not random. There's something almost organic about their movement." The tracking center hummed with the quiet efficiency of dozens of computers monitoring the thousands of objects circling Earth. To most, it was just housekeeping, keeping tabs on humanity's orbital clutter. But Maya had begun to see something more. "Watch this sequence." She pulled up footage from last week. "See how this cluster of debris suddenly shifted. The probability of that many objects changing trajectory simultaneously is astronomical. Yet it's happening more and more frequently." James set down his coffee, his skepticism giving way to curiosity. Could be a software glitch, or solar wind patterns we hadn't accounted for. "I thought so too. But look at the energy readings." Maya switched to another screen filled with complex graphs. "These spikes don't correspond to any known natural phenomenon. It's as if the debris field is reacting to something." Before James could respond, their systems lit up with new alerts. A SpaceX supply mission to the ISS had just reported unusual readings during their approach. Nothing dangerous, just unexpected variations in their carefully plotted course. "Another anomaly?" James asked, already knowing the answer. "The third this week." Maya pulled up the trajectory data. The pilot reported having to make twice as many course corrections as usual. Said it felt like the debris field was dancing around them. High above Earth, unbeknownst to Maya and her team, the Helix Confederation's most advanced stealth fleet was about to make their attempt at penetrating Earth's orbit. Their ships, cloaked in quantum fields that bent light and gravity around them, were considered invisible to any known detection system. Fleet Commander Ixtal stood on his bridge, his crystalline form pulsing with confidence. "Begin approach vector," he ordered. "Our simulations show a 98.7% chance of successful penetration." The fleet moved forward, their advanced AI systems plotting paths through the debris field with mathematical precision. But something was wrong. The debris wasn't behaving according to their predictions. "Commander," his science officer's voice carried notes of alarm. "The field, it's shifting. Our models can't keep up." Ixtal watched in horror as pieces of space debris began moving in impossible patterns, creating an ever-changing maze that defied their most sophisticated navigation systems. A defunct satellite suddenly tumbled in a way that violated basic orbital mechanics, forcing one of his ships to execute an emergency phase shift. Back on Earth, Maya's systems were lighting up like a Christmas tree. "James, look at this. The whole field is active." Her fingers flew across her keyboard, recording everything. "These movements, they're not just random. There's a pattern here, like an immune system responding to an invasion." James finished, his voice barely a whisper. In orbit, the Helix fleet was in chaos. Their perfect formation had scattered, their quantum cloaks fluctuating as they tried to adapt to the impossible conditions. A piece of what appeared to be a 20-year-old solar panel somehow interfaced with their phase field technology, creating a cascade of failures that rippled through their formation. Impossible. Ixtal broadcast as his flagship systems began to fail. Their primitive debris, it's not just moving, it's evolving. Maya and James watched their monitors in fascination as their systems recorded dozens of routine debris collisions in high orbit. To their instruments, it looked like nothing more than another busy day of orbital traffic management. But Maya knew better. James, help me compile this data. There's something happening up there, something bigger than we ever imagined. She began pulling historical records, comparing patterns, looking for correlations that everyone else had missed. Maya, James said slowly, studying the readings, if what you're seeing is real, we might need to rethink everything we know about orbital mechanics. As the last of the Helix fleet retreated in disarray, leaving behind more debris to strengthen Earth's unintentional shield, Maya began to piece together a theory that would change humanity's understanding of their place in the cosmos. The chaos above their heads wasn't just junk. It was an evolving learning system that had emerged from humanity's messy ascent into space. We didn't just pollute orbit, she murmured, watching the debris field settle back into its complex dance. We created something new, something alive. In the depths of space, the Helix Confederation added their data to the growing archive of failed attempts to breach Earth's orbit. Their most sophisticated fleet had been defeated not by advanced technology or powerful weapons, but by humanity's greatest gift to the cosmos: beautiful, perfect chaos. The accidental shield. Dr. Maya Patel's office had transformed into a war room of scientific discovery. Holographic displays showed orbital patterns stretching back decades, while screens flickered with real-time data from the increasingly active debris field. James Chen stood beside her, both of them staring at a simulation that defied conventional physics. Look at the quantum signatures. Maya pointed to a cluster of data points. These aren't just random pieces of junk anymore. They're becoming entangled. But that's impossible, James protested, though his voice lacked conviction. Quantum entanglement doesn't work on this scale, not naturally. Nothing about this is natural, Maya replied, pulling up another display. 60 years of space exploration, thousands of launches, countless pieces of debris exposed to cosmic radiation, solar winds, and extreme conditions. We didn't just create a mess. We created a laboratory for quantum evolution. In high orbit, the Syndicate of Advanced Species was about to learn this lesson firsthand. Their approach was different from previous attempts. Instead of ships, they had sent millions of quantum-linked microprobes, each smaller than a grain of sand. Begin dispersal pattern, Supreme Analyst Nivak ordered, their neural network humming with anticipated success. Nothing can detect particles this small. But as the microprobes entered Earth's orbital space, something extraordinary happened. Decades-old paint flakes, their molecular structure altered by years of cosmic radiation, began generating localized gravitational distortions. Fragments of solar panels, quantum entangled through years of exposure to solar winds, created spontaneous electromagnetic fields. This is unprecedented, Maya exclaimed, her systems detecting the strange new patterns. The debris field isn't just moving anymore, it's reorganizing at the quantum level. James leaned closer to the screen, his skepticism finally crumbling. It's like the field is teaching itself. Every piece of debris we've left up there, every failed satellite, every collision, they've all contributed to creating something greater than the sum of its parts. The Syndicate watched in horror as their microprobes encountered what appeared to be a quantum mesh of impossible complexity. Paint chips and metal fragments that should have been inert were instead acting as nodes in a vast, evolving network. Our probes are failing, Nivak reported, their neural pathways pulsing with disbelief. The human's orbital debris. It's not just matter anymore. It's become a quantum computational system. Maya's research had led her to the same conclusion. She pulled up historical data, showing how each major space event had contributed to the field's evolution. The early satellite launches, the space race debris, the countless collisions and explosions, each had added new elements to the growing complexity above. "It's beautiful," she whispered, watching the patterns shift on her screen. "We thought we were just making a mess, but we were actually seeding the creation of something unprecedented. A self-organizing, quantum-entangled defensive screen that learns and adapts with each passing day." James nodded slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. The cosmic radiation mutated the materials, the solar winds provided energy, and the constant movement kept the system dynamic. We accidentally created perfect conditions for quantum evolution in space. The Syndicate's probes continued to fail as the debris field's quantum properties became more apparent. Pieces of old satellites, their atomic structures twisted by years in space, began exhibiting properties that violated known physics. Soviet-era fragments interacted with American space junk in ways that created localized space-time distortions. "It's not just defending Earth," Maya realized, studying the patterns. "It's protecting itself. Each attempted penetration makes it stronger, more complex, more adaptive." In the void of space, the last of the Syndicate's probes encountered something that their most advanced sensors couldn't comprehend. A piece of a 1960s weather satellite that had somehow become a quantum computational node more sophisticated than anything their civilization had ever created. "Retreat," Nivak ordered, their neural network struggling to process the implications. The humans haven't just created debris, they've seeded their orbit with quantum evolution itself. As the Syndicate withdrew, Maya and James continued their analysis, understanding growing with each new data point. The chaos of humanity's space exploration had created something unprecedented, a living shield of quantum-entangled debris that grew more intelligent with each passing moment. "We need to report this," James said, but Maya shook her head. "Who would believe us? That humanity's greatest achievement in space was an accident. That our orbital junk has evolved into the most sophisticated defense system ever created." She smiled, watching the debris field continue its eternal dance. "Sometimes the best discoveries are the ones we make by mistake." Above them, Earth's accidental shield continued its evolution, protecting humanity not through design or intention, but through the beautiful chaos of unintended consequences. Nature's algorithm. The Nexus Empire's battle fleet materialized at the edge of the solar system, their quantum drives humming with enough power to move a small moon. 5,000 ships strong, it was the largest force ever assembled for a single operation. Their mission: to prove that Earth's mysterious orbital defense was not impenetrable. Supreme Commander Sci-Fi, a being of pure energy contained within an advanced cybernetic shell, addressed the fleet. "We have studied every failed attempt. We have analyzed every pattern. We will not repeat their mistakes." Meanwhile, in her lab at the Orbital Debris Tracking Center, Maya Patel was making a breakthrough. "James, look at this." She pointed to a complex simulation running on her holographic display. "The debris field isn't just moving randomly. It's processing information." James Chen leaned forward, his eyes widening as he watched decades of orbital data replay at high speed. "It's like a neural network made of junk." "Better," Maya grinned. "It's a quantum computer that built itself. Every piece of debris exposed to cosmic radiation has become a quantum bit. Every collision has created new connections. The entire field is one massive, evolving computational system." In space, the Nexus fleet began their approach. Their ships were equipped with advanced phase shift technology, designed to let them slip between the debris like ghosts. But as they entered the outer edges of Earth's orbit, something unprecedented happened. "Supreme Commander," a tactical officer reported, "the debris field. It's anticipating our movements." Xarthel's energy form pulsed with disbelief as they watched pieces of space junk moving in impossible patterns, creating barriers before their ships could even choose their paths. It wasn't just reacting, it was predicting. Back on Earth, Maya's instruments were lighting up with activity. The field's processing power just spiked. She pulled up live feeds showing unprecedented levels of quantum entanglement between debris particles. It's not just learning anymore, it's innovating. James studied the data in amazement. Each piece of debris is acting like a neuron in a brain, but operating on quantum principles. The solar radiation provided the energy, space provided the isolation, and time provided the evolution. The Nexus fleet's formation began to break apart as their carefully planned approach routes became death traps. A fragment from a 1970s satellite, quantum entangled with a piece of modern space junk, created a localized distortion in space-time that swallowed 3 ships whole. Impossible. Xarthel broadcast as their flagship's sensors struggled to make sense of the chaos. Their primitive garbage has achieved computational complexity beyond our understanding. Maya and James watched their screens in awe as the debris field demonstrated levels of organization they had never seen before. Paint flakes moved in perfect synchronization with defunct satellites. Fragments of old rocket stages created quantum interference patterns that defied physics. "It's beautiful," Maya whispered. "We thought we were polluting space, but we were actually seeding it with the building blocks of something extraordinary. Every launch, every satellite, every piece of debris, they all contributed to creating this." The Nexus fleet's advanced AI systems, the most sophisticated in the known galaxy, began to fail as they encountered mathematical patterns they couldn't process. The debris field wasn't just moving. It was calculating, analyzing, adapting to every tactic they attempted. The field isn't just defending Earth, James realized, studying the patterns. It's protecting itself. Each attack makes it stronger, more complex, more intelligent. Maya nodded, watching as her instruments recorded what looked like quantum computations of impossible complexity occurring in the space between pieces of debris. "We created something that evolves faster than we can understand it. Every failed attack adds new materials, new patterns, new possibilities." In orbit, the remains of the Nexus fleet began their retreat, leaving behind wreckage that would only make Earth's defense stronger. Supreme Commander Xarthal's final transmission to the Empire was simple: the humans have created perfection through imperfection. Their chaos has evolved into the ultimate defense. As the alien fleet vanished into hyperspace, Maya and James continued their analysis, understanding growing with each new data point. The quantum defense system they had discovered was more than just a shield. It was a new form of intelligence, born from humanity's messy ascent into space. "Should we tell anyone?" James asked, looking at their mounting evidence. Maya smiled, watching the debris field continue its eternal dance. Who would believe that humanity's greatest achievement was an accident? That our orbital junk evolved into the most sophisticated defense system ever created? She shook her head. Sometimes the best guardians are the ones that no one knows exist. Above them, Earth's accidental shield continued its evolution, protecting humanity not through design or intention, but through the beautiful chaos of unintended consequences, a perfect defense system created by mistake. Perfect chaos. The Grand Alliance chamber fell silent as representatives from 1,000 advanced civilizations watched the holographic display. The combined might of 7 galactic powers, the largest military force ever assembled, was preparing for one final attempt to penetrate Earth's orbit. High Admiral Zena, a being of pure thought housed in a quantum crystal matrix, addressed the chamber. "We have studied every failed attempt. We understand now that the human's orbital defense system isn't just debris. It's the most sophisticated quantum computer ever created. Today, we will prove it can be defeated." Meanwhile, in her lab at the Orbital Debris Tracking Center, Maya Patel was making the final adjustments to her quantum detection array. Years of research had led to this moment. proof that Earth's orbital debris field had evolved into something unprecedented. The readings are off the scale, James Chen reported, watching as their instruments detected massive quantum fluctuations in high orbit. The field is showing levels of computational complexity we've never seen before. The Alliance fleet began their approach, employing technology from 1,000 worlds. Their ships were equipped with reality warping engines, probability drives, and quantum phase shifters that should have allowed them to bypass any known defense system. But Earth's orbital shield had been waiting for this moment. Decades of failed attempts had added layer upon layer of sophisticated alien technology to the debris field, each piece becoming part of its ever-evolving quantum network. "Look at this," Maya exclaimed, pointing to her displays. "The field isn't just reacting, it's creating new physics. The quantum entanglement between debris particles is generating localized regions where our normal understanding of space-time breaks down." The Alliance fleet encountered something beyond their comprehension. Paint flakes from old satellites, their atomic structure altered by years of cosmic radiation, began creating quantum tunnels that redirected their weapons fire back at them. Fragments of Soviet-era spacecraft, entangled with pieces of modern space junk, generated gravitational lenses that bent their sensor beams into impossible shapes. Extraordinary, High Admiral Zena broadcast as their flagship's quantum sensors overloaded. The human's garbage hasn't just evolved. It's achieved a level of quantum complexity that surpasses our theoretical understanding of the universe. Maya and James watched in awe as their instruments recorded the debris field demonstrating capabilities that defied known physics. Each piece of space junk had become a node in a vast quantum network that processed information faster than any computer ever built. "We didn't just create a shield," Maya realized, watching the patterns unfold. "We created a new form of intelligence, one that evolved naturally from our chaotic exploration of space." The Alliance fleet's sophisticated technology began to work against them. Their quantum phase shifters interfaced with the debris field's own quantum properties, creating cascading failures that rippled through their formation. Ships vanished into probability vortexes created by the interaction between their advanced drives and the quantum-entangled debris. "The perfect defense system," James mused, watching the data stream across their screens. Not because it was designed to be perfect, but because it evolved to be perfect. In orbit, the remnants of the Alliance fleet retreated, their technology no match for the emergent intelligence that humanity had accidentally created. High Admiral Zena's final transmission to the Grand Alliance was both a warning and a revelation. "The humans have achieved what we thought impossible. They turned their greatest weakness, their messy, chaotic approach to space exploration, into their greatest strength. They have created a defense system that evolves faster than we can attack it, learns from every attempt to breach it, and grows stronger with each failure." As the last alien ships vanished into hyperspace, Maya and James sat in their lab, surrounded by proof of something extraordinary. Earth's orbital debris field had become more than just a shield. It was a testament to humanity's unique gift for creating order from chaos. "No one would ever believe that our greatest achievement in space was an accident," Maya said, watching the debris field continue its eternal dance. "That we created the perfect defense system not through careful planning, but through blind luck and messy progress." James smiled, understanding the beautiful irony. "Maybe that's exactly why it works so well. We didn't try to control space. We just threw everything we had at it and let nature take its course." Above them, Earth's accidental guardian continued its evolution, protecting humanity through the power of unintended consequences. The very chaos that other civilizations saw as humanity's greatest flaw had become their perfect shield, a defense system that no force in the galaxy could defeat because it was born from the beautiful disorder that only humans could create. As night fell over the tracking center, Maya made one final entry in her research log. "Perhaps our greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence, but our ability to create something beautiful from our mistakes. In our chaos, we found perfection." The debris field sparkled in the starlight, its quantum dance a testament to humanity's accidental genius, a shield of perfect chaos, protecting Earth until humanity was ready to join the galactic community on its own terms.